Howdy, folks. My name is a Doom Space Marine, and today we're going to be doing a tour of this. So, the other day I decided to build a gigantic church-like thingy. That is going to be a gigantic tower castle that my buddy Dragonslayer56 is making. I will link his thing up to the right here. But without further ado, let's figure this thing out. So, this started out as I want to build a gigantic thing, and I want it to be very big, and so I ended up using WorldEdit to start the pyramid, and then started kind of adding on details from there. So, as you can see, everything's lit up all nice and pretty. It definitely looks like a mega church because of how big it is, but without further ado, let's get this tour started. So, as you go into the main entrance here, somebody left the dang door open. Gotta love those people. Anyway, we're gonna go in here, and we're gonna go this way, and then we're gonna go this way. And as you enter the main sanctuary, as you can see, there are lots and lots and lots of pews. So this little build took me about half a night, and I'm still kind of working on it here and there. There's still going to be some additions, especially upstairs. But, you know, my whole thing is, because I use shaders, because I've got a computer that can run shaders, once again, Ryzen 3700X, 32 gigs of RAM, and a 1660 Super under the hood, I like to mess with the ways I can manipulate the lighting to look pretty. So I first built this pyramid, and I was like, oh dang, it's dark in here. And I ended up lining each corner with sea lanterns. And then I ended up doing this inlay later on. So I started with the pyramid, then I built up these sea lanterns at the corners. And then I ended up making a center floor here. And this big floor up top, there is nothing in it right now, but it has some pretty cool lighting effects due to the way that it's lit up. It started out as a giant pyramid with kind of this open area, and I made the second floor, and I was like, what am I going to do? And I started kind of just building it, you know, chunk by chunk, trying to figure out something that looked cool. And I came out with this really nifty architecturally kind of complex structure. If we want a better view of what's going on here, the pews are evenly set out. A lot of times, because of my OCD, I guess in a way, thank God for that, but also it kind of gets to be a pain sometimes. A lot of this stuff, I really try to pay a lot of attention to detail, especially centering. So if you look down here, one of these blocks is not the same, and if you aren't able to spot it, I don't blame you. This one right here is the absolute center of the pyramid. So how I built this, going on the outside here, is I used WorldEdit initially to come out here and build this, let's go out here. No. To go and get this engraved sandstone, the outer portion of the pyramid. And then what I did from there is, if you're actually really careful with where your center is and actually being conscious of how you want to build something, you can actually do it in layers. And so as you can see, the interior is not the same color, and that's because this is red polished sandstone, or smooth red sandstone, that's on the very back layer. And then what I ended up doing, after I set down these sea lanterns, was I moved it 2 layers in and made this red stained glass interior that allows everything to kind of reflect and refract off of itself. So then what I did is I inlaid all of these 1 layer thick sea lanterns on the edge because I like the inlaid light look. And then after that, I, of course, built the red glass. So the floor here, interesting building procedure, pretty simple. If you have WorldEdit, you have this feature called Stack. And what Stack allows you to do is, let me get into the HUD here. Let's just like quickly delete this item from my HUD. And if we go and we type in wand with 2 slashes, because I've had people asking me, like, how did you build this, dude? So this allows you to select a primary position and a secondary position. And so what I would do for this floor is I would take this back corner red sandstone, after laying the first two layers of the checkerboard, so the sandstone on top with a sea lantern below glass, and just kept that pattern going in a checkerboard. And I built these first two rows here, and I would select this back corner, and then if we go all the way over here, I would select this corner over here, the clear glass over the sea lantern, and I would tell it to stack. And I didn't know exactly how far it was to stack, so I kind of just guesstimated, and I had to do it three or four times. They have an undo command that's really handy in a WorldEdit. And eventually, I just got the right size that fit the pyramid, and I have this checkerboard floor with this really awesome refracting glass pattern. Because on top of it, you don't only just have the smooth sandstone, but you have the red stained glass. And so you get a lot of really nice, really awesome lighting effects. This is just a back hallway. I'm going to do something with this eventually, but until the time being, right now, I'm just kind of giving a showcase of, like, what I did, how I did it. And one of these days, when it's not so close to my wife getting home from work, I'll actually take you guys through how I do what I do, and how I go about building something just this monumental and huge. Um, so attention to detail. So, I do pay a copious amount of attention to detail because of the fact that, one, I want to make this eventually like a public server build kind of thing. But also because I just like being, kind of thorough with making sure things line up, all that. Call it my OCD or a subset of my autism, whatever. But I really like these symmetrical structures where, all of these rows are evenly spaced with or 7 seats on each thing. And then down the middle, you have something with an equally long or wide pathway through. It just looks visually pleasing. And this initially was just going to be this like four square pillar kind of texture here. But I ended up realizing, you could really do a lot with these steps and making it look really exquisite, really top notch. And so, this is kind of influenced by my home church. We go to the Apostolic Faith Church, and the deacons or like the assistant pastors or whatnot will sit behind the pastor when the pastor preaches, that kind of thing. And I ended up making this just because I wanted to. It looks cool. I honestly am really, really pleased with how this turned out. It's gorgeous. And it's interesting because, like, the lighting effects really plays with you. You got this dark red glow through this whole place. And I'm wondering if it's daytime yet, because that will really kind of exemplify. Oh, that happens when you use the wand tool on a door. So let's not do that. It is nighttime still, just turning dawn. But as you can see, I lit the cross up top. Now let's really get in here. So then what I ended up doing was I tried to make a big enough glass pyramid surrounding the initial pyramid to allow for there to be little shacks and buildings in between the wall of the main pyramid and the glass pyramid. In short, this is going to be a desert monastery once this thing is finished up. And the glass pyramid, it was just super stupid simple. You go in, actually let me demonstrate really quick. So if we get off this camera mode where we don't have the HUD, and we go down here, and I'm just going to make a really, really quick kind of like simple example. WorldEdit makes building that portion of it really, really easy. And here's why. So if I select a spot like right here where I'm standing, and I double slash this, and I go, this is exactly how I did it, pyramid, and we go and we make it hollow so it doesn't make us glitch out when we get into it. Let's get that H there. And let's just make it out of, well, just for a good example, let's make it out of glass. And then what you do is you select your radius. So it's not your diameter, it's not your full width of your circle or whatever shape you're making. It is half of that. And so if I want to make one that's like, say, 6 wide, then you do a 3. And what you end up with, if I can get in a spectator here, is a little glass pyramid. It's that simple to build that part of the structure. Which, to that end, that's one of the reasons why WorldEdit is just that helpful. And if you want to even be more efficient than what I was just doing, all you gotta do is do this. Undo. Bingo. So that's how. Ooh, the sun is rising. Oh boy. I ended up doing the actual outer work. The cross itself was built block by block. And a lot of. So let me get over here really quick. All of this on the outside of it, every bit of these little sub buildings, the deck, all of that was entirely built block by block. And so, what it allows me to do is really get a foundation to build around, and then I can actually start, adding stuff like doorways and fine details and, substructures and all that stuff. Interestingly enough, I'm actually working on this still, so it's a major work in progress. There's still a lot to be done. It looks finished, it is far from finished. And the main reason why, so now going into the tour of the place, of course, we have the pews here. These are just simple, I believe, polished diorite stairs. Now, if we go into here, and this is another glass floor that I used with the. Actually, I built this one by hand, and this took a while. So this one's the same concept as this, except the top layer is all glass, and the bottom layer is kind of that first initial pyramiding that we did in the first place. So continuing on, so this is the stage. This is where, like, people that play instruments, that kind of thing, are going to be staged to do worship and whatnot. Now, I have a very visible ladder here, but if you're back here, back on the back of the stage, you can barely even notice that those are there. And the reason why I have that is because I ended up putting in like a whole 5 blocks of water underneath this, because I wanted the land around it to have little water inlays and whatnot. Let me see if I can get down this ladder really quick. And this is a cool effect in and of itself, but this is what happens when you box off that water and you have lights. This is the floor. So that first layer is just sea lanterns. And what I'm planning to do with this is I'm actually planning on running a bunch of different tunnels around over time that go around this little closed area as like offices, stuff like that. But I also actually intend to burrow down, perhaps even deeper. Let's see how much room we actually have if we get into spectator here. This will really give us some eyes open. So eventually I'm going to tie it down into, if you can see all this right angulature on all of these tunnels down here. This I found out just by looking underneath. When I build things, I generally look around and see what's under them. I found out I built this thing on top of a mineshaft biome, and so there's some useful resources and stuff in there once we get into the survival elements of it. But I'm looking at eventually, it's going to be a long haul, a lot of work. But what I'm looking at eventually doing is tying this gigantic pyramid structure in one way or another through a network of tunnels, so that we can not only have, like, Slayer's new build connected to that, but also in eventuality, this is such a cool chunk error. That is such a cool, like, land rendering error. Probably gonna build something around that. Gonna be straight with that. And look at this desert biome. It just cuts off at a right angle, kind of like the water over here. Like right over here, there's just like this straight stretch of water. But I'll end up tying it into our main glass dome. And that will come in time. Now, carrying forward, let's get back over here really quick. And continue and finish this little tour over here. But yeah, so eventually, that under portion is going to have tunnel systems that lead to, other portions. What I actually may end up doing is putting a teleporter hub in the basement of each structure, so you can just go from there. So anyway, let's go back in here and actually do like a physical walkthrough now. Make it a little easier to just show off kind of what's going on here. So going back into the church, I made this little entryway. It's got this little window with a front door. Kind of makes it look like there's 3 doors, but there's technically not. You go into the church here. This is the main sanctuary. You've got the stage with this elaborate. This is actually up here the same exact methodology I was using for the tiling, except I don't know. I did use red stained glass. So yeah, it's the same exact kind of concept as the flooring, and it adds a lot of texture to it. It kind of looks really awesome in my opinion. And you go up these stairways, and this will take you into, this is just stuff that I kind of filled in randomly in a pattern. It's the same on both sides, but I just was trying to make it look a little more elaborate than just sea lanterns walking all the way down this path. Now you come up here to the main lectern, and you are greeted by this area of, let me get up here really quick, and am I in survival mode? Here, let's go into creative. And you've got this pattern on the floor. It kind of almost looks like an angel almost. And here you have the 4 chairs, and you've got the lectern. And that's the view from down there. Eventually, I'm going to also probably work on making this into like a roleplay server. So the reason why these structures have like actual real life correlations, like the reactor room, which I'll show you in the next video, has like a cooling and all that stuff, is so that people can roleplay effectively. This room's really cool. I mean, I wanted to build like a bunch of like housing areas in this, but I almost want to just leave this the way it is and put like this prayer altar in the middle of it, because this room, I mean, the downside to that is that we don't have enough light in here. And the problem with not having enough light in here is that we are going to have enemy spawns. And unless your client light is actually above 8, you're going to have enemy spawns. Bottom line. No way around it. And so I'm looking at maybe potentially turning this particular server into a creation building server entirely, no survival, that kind of thing. Doesn't mean I'm not going to fart around on survival now and then, but like, yeah. I actually got, so if we, oh, I can't demonstrate it because I'm on an actual game capture mode, but my wallpaper right now is literally that right there. It just looks so awesome because the way this works is it is viewing, where you're viewing is based on, where the reflections are. It's screen space. It's, where your screen's looking, you're going to see the reflections of lights. As you can see how it's kind of cutting out as I go down. But this is bleeding in not only from outside, but because there's 2 lanterns right there, and it just looks so cool because it's just this one dark like area with this one doorway with light shining through it. And that's really what I kind of want to exemplify in this, is the light and the darkness element of Christianity. That there is all kinds of insurmountable trials we face, but a little bit of light in a very dark space will light it up immensely. Now, going forward, this is like the monastery kind of thing. This is a deck. This is kind of a greeting deck where people can, talk and whatnot, and eventually wave to the people down below. And I made this pathway that goes up the slope of the pyramid that will lead to the cross up here. And that's just kind of a symbolic kind of prayer altar kind of thing, come into the journey of the cross, come up to the steps, and lay down your burdens there, that kind of thing. The cross itself was hollow. We have a layer of, I believe, I want to say smooth quartz on the outer one and white cement on the inner one. And I ended up making it to this design because I wanted it to be able to be lit up, and I just wanted enough light to shine through that it would be visible in the night. We have, of course, lights down here, but they don't really do the job. Lights in Minecraft only extend a few chunks. It's not really that immense light source to light source. It's kind of cool because the volumetric lighting, you're actually kind of getting to see like how the rays affect right here. Right in the center of the screen there, you'll see actually how the rays are kind of reflecting off the glass and refracting down. This is a result of that water placement I was talking about earlier. So yeah, these are just, this is just one example of kind of the stuff I like to do. And a lot of it does revolve around shaders. I am aware that not everybody is able to run shaders. I know that they are extremely taxing, even on some of the better computers out there. But I really made this in that kind of mindset. I want somebody to step foot in the server that has RTX capabilities, which, you know, Certainly, over this next couple of years, I believe is going to become a lot more accessible to the generalized market, especially as the hardware gets more simple to manufacture and it becomes less costly to put that type of features into a GPU. I'm hoping that, over time, we're going to see entry-level graphics cards with ray tracing, especially as the mainstream console culture is now adopting that. You see Xbox and PS5 both coming out of the box with RDNA 2 ray tracing enabled. So yeah, I mean, we are just kind of sitting and waiting, me and Dragon Slayer, and we're building this stuff to however we see fit. And I'm kind of that person that's building it to the specifications that if you've got ray tracing on or you got shaders, it's going to look absolutely spectacular. But yeah, this has been a Doom Space Marine, and I am going to leave you guys here. Be sure to check in every now and then. I try and upload every week. I'm going to try and start doing a semi-daily basis if I can. As we watch this moonrise come in, let me remind you that if you like this stuff, be sure to hit that like button and subscribe and show your support in any way you can. I'm going to shoot you guys once more on the right a little tab over to Dragon Slayer's channel. He's been doing a lot of Bed Wars stuff. He's an entertaining guy. He's awesome. But yes, this is a Doom Space Marine wishing you all a well and safe rest of your October and a happy Thanksgiving as that is coming close. Good night.